7:25 a.m. We see Naruto and his mother, Kushina, sitting across from each other at the breakfast table. Both of them eating the healthy breakfast she just cooked up. They exchanged a series of glances at one another as they ate some eggs. Last night a new relationship began between a mother and her son. The tension was spilling over to the morning after. Good morning. Got to run, Minato, Naruto's father said as he grabbed a piece of toast of Naruto's plate and headed out the door. Kushina and Naruto looked back at each other as the door closed behind Minato. After hearing the car pull out of the driveway, Kushina got up and walked over to her son. Never breaking eye contact, Naruto began to pull down his Nike mesh shorts. His mother took off her PJ bottoms and then sat on his lap as they began to make out uncontrollably. Let me give you a little backstory that lead up to this moment. Kushina Uzumaki Namikaze is Naruto's mother's full name, and to give you a bit of a visual, she still looks incredibly for being 39. She has fantastic long legs, gigantic tits, nice plump motherly beautiful full lips, and big purple eyes that you can just lose yourself in. The greatest thing about her is her commitment to keeping her body in incredible shape. She is a head trainer at the local gym and teaches spin class, yoga, Pilates, and weight training. Minato Namikaze at 40, used to work out a lot when he was young but has let himself go a bit due his everyday work routine. Growing up, Naruto's parents made sure he was very active in sports and in his education. Naruto is in the last semester of high school and he just became the starting third baseman for the varsity baseball team. His father was so proud of him when he came home with the big news. His mother was even more ecstatic as she nearly tackled him to congratulate him. Naruto is sincerely blessed with a loving family. Since he was their only child, he gets all of their attention. We are so proud of you. Kushina screamed as she lunged into Naruto. Her beautifully toned arms wrapped around his neck and she jumped on top of him. Her excitement caught Naruto off guard and they both fell to the ground. She began to shower him with kisses. Mom. Naruto grabbed her around the waist and flipped her onto her back as he rolled on top of her. He looked her in the eyes playfully and pinned her down. Kushina laughed out loud and locked eyes with her son as her gorgeous red hair fell onto her face. Naruto's dad immediately came up from behind him and headlocked him and proceeded to playfully wrestle him to the ground. Last Saturday morning, Naruto woke up early because he had baseball practice. He was up eating a bowl of cereal when he remembered that his coach told him that the game from last Wednesday would be featured in the local news. As his parents continued to sleep, he hopped on the computer to check the news site. After reading the article, he looked on the computer for his homework assignment he did the night before. That is when he came across a folder called 1990s Portfolio. His curiosity got the best of him and he opened the folder. Inside he found even more folders called J.C. Penney, Sears, Playboy Audition, ... Pin-up lingerie, bikini sets, etc. etc. He went through each folder and was shocked to find all these pictures of his mother in different poses and outfits. Naruto's heart was racing a mile a minute as he noticed he was getting extremely hard. He could hardly breathe as he quickly rummaged through folders. His hard-on was becoming stiffer and stiffer as he heard the stairs outside of the office beginning to creak. Someone was coming downstairs. If he was not already out of breath, he was now nearing heart attack stage. He immediately closed all the folders and opened up the webpage he was looking at. As he closed out the last folder, he noticed a few called pictorials and glamour models gone bad. Thank God for creaking floorboards, he thought. Kushina walked in and said, "Hi honey, what are you doing up so early?" She was dressed in her usual sleep attire that she wore late at night and early in the mornings. Her outfits perfectly accented her every curve. Nothing mom, just wanted to look at the article about the game, Naruto said with the world's biggest lump in his throat. Oh really? What does it say? She asked as she began to walk towards Naruto. Everything seems to slow down from there. He looked back at her after closing out the last folder. Suddenly he pictured his mother walking toward him in the green Malibu string bikini he just saw her in on the computer. It was like a cheesy 80s movie as everything around him went foggy and all focus and attention was on his mother seductively. Naruto couldn't handle or process anything at that moment. He got up and made a beeline for the door. His mind was going a mile a second as he ran past her. Okay well, I should be ready to take you to practice in about 45 minutes, she said as he ran up the stairs. Naruto ran into the bathroom, slammed the door, and turned the shower on. He quickly jerked off thinking of all those sexy pictures he saw of his very own mother. The ones that came to mind instantly was the pictures in the folder called Beach Set. Picture after picture of his mom in different string bikinis. One in particular, she was on all four, knees together, and her perfect round plump arched way up in the air. He put his hand over his mouth as he came harder than he ever had before. That is when his obsession with and his beautiful mother began. Flash forward to today and in recent weeks his addiction towards his mother was growing larger and even more obscene. He was at the dinner table finishing some homework when Kushina walked in with Minato. How was date night? Naruto asked both of them. He looked up and saw his mother wearing a very hot, very short black dress. She was visibly upset or disappointed. It was fine, Minato said, walking from the dining room into the living room. I'm going to bed, I have a long day tomorrow, he continued to say as he made his way upstairs. Everything okay? Naruto asked Kushina. Yeah, it's okay. Dad is just really stressed from work, she said as she grabbed herself a bottle of water out of the fridge. Are you sure? He said with concern. If you haven't guessed by now, they're a close family and they all can sense when something is wrong. However, even with Kushina being upset, Naruto couldn't help but look straight at her massive cleavage on display. As she sat, her gave a sexy ripple and jiggled ever so slightly. He was genuinely concerned, but he couldn't help notice that a good 32 tits fit so nicely in that dress. Don't tell your father, she looked up to make sure he was gone. But we tried to have a nice night, but lately, all he does is complain. Naruto immediately got lost in Kushina's purple eyes as she explained how his father has changed. This happened often lately, his mother would be telling him something and he would get tunnel vision of lust. As she went on to vent about how his father was not the same man she married 20 years ago, his was getting uncomfortably hard. He often daydream in class about having hardcore incestual with his hot and sexy red-headed MILF of a mother. Do you understand, Hon? Kushina asked as Naruto was quickly snapped out of his trance. Yeah. That stinks, Mom. If I were him, I would treat you like the goddess you are. He said while in his mind he was panicking. What the hell did I just say out loud? Naruto stared forward trying to wrap his head around what he just subconsciously blurted out. You are so incredible, sweet. I love you so much, she said lovingly. A moment passed and he looked over to her standing by sink. She was looking at Naruto with a sexy smirk. Naruto stared back at her with confusion on his face, acting like he didn't just refer to her as a goddess. Still smiling, she cocked her head to the right a bit. What? Naruto asked, beginning to get a bit uncomfortable. Do you think I'm beautiful? Be honest, she asked seductively. Naruto's mouth immediately started to dry up. Flashbacks of panic started creeping, afraid that he would say or do something that he would regret. He lost contact with her eyes and somehow his focus got drawn in by her slim waist and incredible sexy hips. Her mouth-watering thighs followed and they single-handedly fueled him to say, Mom, you are honestly most beautiful woman I have ever seen. Another silent pause fell over the kitchen. Naruto started eating again as he took out his phone to act like he didn't want to talk about this anymore. Thank you for listening, baby, she said as she got up and headed for the living room. Her eyes never lost contact with his. Naruto immediately felt flush in the face and realized he had to be more careful. What time do you have practice in the morning, baby? She yelled from the living room. Naruto got up and met her in the living room. She was on the couch taking off her high heels. Her short dress crept its way up her thick mommy thighs. What time, honey, do you have practice? She asked again. Naruto was standing in front of her staring at her soft tits that was nearly coming out of her dress. It was completely obvious that Naruto was staring at her flesh spilling out. She quickly looked down at her chest and realized that almost half of her tits were popping out for her son to see. She then looked up at him without making any motion to cover herself up. Honey, you seriously can't help yourself, can you? She said with a smile. What? I mean, sorry mom, but they're incredible, he said, stumbling through his answer. Kushina looked at the stairs, then looked at Naruto, then looked at her tits, and then back at her son. As Naruto stared at her, he noticed she was obviously getting a bit worked up. She took a very deliberate deep breath which caused her deep cleavage to bulge out even further. Her sexy full red lips parted and she said, Naruto, your father is right upstairs. I am sorry, Mom, which means we must be quiet, she cut him off as she began to take off her earrings. Naruto's 6 feet 2 inches athletic frame stood tall over her as she sat on the couch. She looked forward and noticed his hard-on beginning straining through his jeans. They both looked down at it for a moment, then back at each other. Mom, I love you. I am sorry for looking at you like that, Naruto said. Kushina had obviously had a brief struggle to take her eyes off Naruto's bulging crotch. She then looked back up at him. You are clearly a man now. I expect you to have urges, but you cannot look at me the way you have been. Now, she paused for a second. I only see one solution to all of this. Go ahead and sit on the couch. She pointed to the adjacent love seat. Naruto sat down as she made her way towards him. Kushina then straddled Naruto on the love seat and began to completely maul his face with kisses. These were definitely not kisses that a mother normally gives her son. The force of her aggression pushed Naruto back into the couch. He grabbed her large motherly curves and held her up against him as they passionately continued. Both of their sexual aggressions exploded right there in the living room. There was no stopping this derailed train. Kushina came up, never breaking eye contact, and settled down on Naruto's lap and began kissing him again. He couldn't believe what was happening, but he for sure was making the most of it. All of the images he had of her in sexy workout outfits, elegant dresses, nighttime lingerie, all of it was being pumped into his brain at once. He grabbed the back of his mom's head, pulled her hair back, and attacked her soft neck. She let out a moan that if he were to put into words it would say, "Oh my god, yes. Is everything okay down there?" Exclamation mark quote. Kushina and Naruto both stopped and stared at each other with a shocked look. "Kushina, you okay?" Minato yelled at the top of the stairs. If Minato would come down those stairs right now, he would see his wife of 20 years and his full-grown son in the midst of a full-on make-out session on the love seat. Mother and son continued to stare at each other and then Kushina spoke. "Yes dear, Naruto and I are just cleaning under the couch. Go back to bed," she said as she quickly reached down to start unzipping Naruto's pants. Naruto couldn't believe his mom started to continue her lewd behavior. "What if dad comes down?" "He won't," she said to him. "Go back to bed, Hon. You have to be up early for work," she yelled out, fumbling with his belt. Kushina expertly fished his out of his pants and nuzzled it along the front of her panties. "Okay, are you coming up?" Minato asked. "Soon, hun. Soon, oh my," Kushina quickly answered as Naruto dove into her neck. Her perfume was intoxicating to Naruto. "See," Kushina said with confidence as she began to expertly massage his up and down. The sensation was incredible. Naruto couldn't believe this was happening. Then Kushina went straight for his ear. Tongued in and around his ear. He was beginning to fully grasp the sexual being that is his mother. That is when she began to talk dirty to him. All the girls Naruto have been with never liked to talk nasty during or making out. "Tell me what you want to do to me." Naruto didn't answer her at first as he concentrated on not coming right there and ending this whole scenario. "I can't believe we are doing this," Kushina said in a loud whisper, almost out of breath. "Did you like those pictures of your mom on the computer?" she said as she bit softly on his earlobe. "What? Oh mom. How did you know? Please baby, you ran out of the room with the biggest boner. Your face was screaming that you were looking at something you shouldn't have. Looking at dirty pictures of your mother," she hissed as she slightly started convulse. Naruto guessed that she just had a mini orgasm. He took a large and deep satisfying breath that the truth was coming out and his sexy mother was okay with all of it. Kushina then reached for her panties and pulled them aside. With her other hand, she took his throbbing hard and guided it toward to her warm wet opening. "Honey, I need this right now but we have to be quiet," she said almost on the brink of tears. Her red ruby hair still done up perfectly, cleavage on display, and her dress hiked up around her waist as she began to slowly move up and down. "Oh my baby, you are so big," she said in a loud sexy whisper. Kushina gave another slow deliberate pump of her hips and the next thing Naruto knew he was bottom deep in his mom's wet hot cunt. Still fully clothed besides her heels, she began to bounce on his lap. Her magnificent tits were still inside of her dress but the material didn't prevent them from bouncing obscenely with her body. Naruto didn't make any effort to take his clothes off either just in case Minato decided to wake up for a midnight snack and catch him balls deep in his hot mother's. Kushina leaned closer until they were face to face. Her eyes burning lust into her son's eyes. Naruto's eyes saying use me for your pleasure. "Oh god, bunny, you feels so good. Tell mommy how much you want her. Other than just being your loving mother who cooks and cleans for you, what else do you want from me?" she said with a trembling voice. The love seat underneath them was starting to creak a little from the constant bouncing. Her beautiful red hair was rising and falling on her face and shoulders. "I want you every day," Naruto said, unsure of what exactly she wanted him to say. Naruto reached around Kushina and grabbed her again and lifted her whole body off of his. He put her on her back on the other side of the love seat and got between her legs. Kushina was completely surprised with his aggression but visible turned on by his strength. He quickly guided his and she let out a soft moan. He immediately put his hand over her mouth, preventing her moans from getting any louder. "I want you to dress in skimpy clothes that I saw you wearing on the computer. You have a hot body and you need to show it off. I can't believe my mom used to be model," Naruto said as he grabbed the neckline of her dress, pulled it under her tits. This caused her giant milky tits to pop out and bounce. "You bad boy. You shouldn't your mommy this way. Oh my god. Use me," she then looked back into his eyes with a devilish grin. In a dirty way, she was calling out the fact that she was his mother and it was sending the both of them into overdrive. Pounding her beautiful body into the love seat that was spent so many nights watching T. Versus on. "Come for me mom. Come for your son," Naruto said firmly in her ear. That did it for Kushina. Her eyes filled up with lust, love, and passion and began to roll into the back of her head. Her perfect tits were wildly bouncing and rolling around on her chest. The love seat was really creaking now and beginning to slide. That is when Kushina began to come. Her body began to violently convulse for 10 to 15 seconds. Her perfect ruby red lips were slightly open and she lost control of her breathing. As if she were being punched, her hips shot up against him, her legs wrapped around Naruto's and she began grinding as hard as she could. Thump 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 thump. Then he decided he didn't want to break the love seat because at the pace they were going at it, it was inevitable. He lifted his mother once again and gently laid her down on the living rug. "Honey, what are you doing? Oh my god, that was amazing," she said, still out of breath. Naruto laid her down and began to thrust hard into her again. She spread her legs wide as her dress bunched up around her waist again. She grabbed at her tits and pushed those perfect globes together. Put your face right into mommy tits. You know you want to. Kushina started to get her wits about her again and decided it was time to make her son come. Naruto dove face first into her massive pushed up tits. The slamming of his hips into hers was causing her whole body to jump. Pound me. Pound your mommy. Thump 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 thump. Look at me, Naruto. Look at me, she said in a warm motherly tone. She grabbed his head out of her chest and made him stare right into her purple eyes. Thump 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 thump. Kushina continued to talk dirty as Naruto continued using her body to get off. Thump. Pound it. Thump. Pound that twat. Oh my god. I can't believe my incredibly sexy hot mother was using such crude language. I never imagined she would be the type to use such dirty words. Naruto thought. Oh my god, mom. If you keep talking like that, I am going to come so hard. He said as he attacked her neck with his tongue again. Good baby. I want you to come your brains out. Unload your heavy balls. Let mommy help you. Naruto's brain was completely in his and he began blabbering uncontrollably. Jesus Christ, mom. For years I have wanting this. She said as she started to convulse again. ILOVEEETHATTT. Just say the word honey and I will let you use me anytime you want. Do you hear me? I don't care what we're doing or where we are. Yes, mom. I can't believe how kinky you are, he said, trying not to be too loud. Naruto, look at me, she said softly. Naruto looked again deep into his mother's eyes. This time she had a soft, loving and warming smile on her face. It was as if she was back to playing her normal mommy role. Naruto, thump 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 thump. Quote. Come on my tits. Never breaking eye contact. Thump 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 thump. Naruto, thump 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 thump. When you're ready to blow, I want you to pull out, stand up, and jack off of my tits. She instructed. Thump 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 thump. Naruto was done. Her naughty instruction would have killed off any man. I am going to see you on mommy's tits. Unload those balls on my chest. She quickly jumped onto her knees, grabbed her tits, and present them to him. She was so sexy and Naruto wasn't thinking that because he was on the verge of blowing the biggest load of his life. He started jacking off really fast as he stared at his mother below him. He stood proudly in front her, ready to shoot everything he had onto those perfect tits. She looked at him with that devilishly grin. Do it, baby. YEEESSSSHUNNNY. There you go. Come for mommy. Naruto have never shot so much cum out before, and it was all because of his insatiable mother. She single-handedly pulled the biggest load he ever produced out of him. More and more continued to rain down on her. The force of a few of gooey loads shot so forcefully that it hit her on her face, landing just below her mouth. I haven't sex like that in years, she said as he started to calm down. She then began to lick the cum off her big giant tits as Naruto slumped back on the love seat and watched his amazing mother put on a show. She crawled over to him and opened her mouth to show him all of his cum. She closed her mouth after about 5 seconds and swallowed the large pool of jizz that was resting on her tongue. Naruto have never been so turned on in his life. He felt getting hard again. Kushina noticed this and quickly got on the couch on her hands and knees. Baby, we can't have you going to sleep still, frustrated, she said as she kept her up and lowered her upper body so her face was on the couch cushion. She looked at him with soft, hungry look on her face. Honey, use me, please. Naruto had a feeling this would be a start of a new, wonderful relationship with his beautiful kinky mother. Where are you guys? Minato yelled. Naruto's devoted father and Kushina's loving husband was at the top of the stairs leading down into the basement. On top of the washing machine in the basement, Naruto sat comfortably. He from the waist down and his thick hard stuck straight up in the air. Dressed in a red baby doll nightie, Naruto's mom Kushina lifted her head from her son's lap. She looked ravishing and out of this world in the sheer net lace PJ set. For the kill, she wore a matching red thong that rode high on her wide matronly hips. The two lovers that can now comfortably act on the primal urges as soon and as often as they needed. Although sneaking around was mandatory, the juice was worth the squeeze. Naruto was enjoying every minute he had with his gorgeous former model mommy, and Kushina ached to be a devoted mother to him. She wanted to see him grow, succeed, and blossom into the young man she knew he could be. Consequently, Naruto's endless appetite and desire for needed to be tamed or it will get him a huge trouble one day. Kushina could not let that happen. Shit, your father is home, Kushina whispered disappointingly. She reached down and picked up her silk robe that she tossed to the ground minutes earlier. There was pre-cum around Kushina's mouth and Naruto's lap was drenched and covered in his mother's saliva. Naruto jumped off the washing machine and pulled up his gym shorts. He stuffed his iron-hard rod away, but it ultimately caused his shorts to tent outwards. We are in the basement finishing up laundry, Kushina yelled as she winked at Naruto tying her robe closed. Oh honey look, you are a mess. The beautiful mother's attention went to her son's crotch as she noticed Naruto's almost ripping the front of his gray cotton shorts. In addition, the wetness from the mother's mouth left large wet stains everywhere. Thinking quickly, Kushina looked up the basement stairs and yelled, Minato, can you check the shower in the upstairs bathroom? Naruto said there was a problem with the water pressure. Naruto looked confusingly at his mother knowing that there was nothing wrong when he took a shower earlier. Naruto and Kushina listened as Minato's footsteps faded on his way up to the third level of their house. Kushina looked back at Naruto with a lusty look on her face. You can't go upstairs with your big ready to explode like that, my horny little man. She said matter-of-factly as she walked towards Naruto. Her thick creamy thighs caused the black robe to part at her panty covered as she took each step forward. She really was a goddess. Kushina got on her knees in front of Naruto and looked up with her hypnotic purple eyes bearing into his soul. She sat down on her heels and stared up seductively at him. Her face expertly instructing him exactly what to do. Naruto pulled his back out and rubbed in the excess saliva that was around his crotch. Kushina didn't move and told her son to do what he needed to do to get off. Naruto stepped forward and rubbed his hard along his mother's beautiful rosy cheeks, ruby red lips, under her chin, and around to the bridge of her nose. His mother let him enjoy the moment for a few seconds. She smiled at him, realizing that it was her that was object of her son's desires. Sweetie, we need to hurry. Naruto tapped Hyson her right cheek, then her forehead, and then on the bridge of her nose. He was captivated by her beauty. We don't want your father hearing you fucking your mom's sweet throat. Naruto's face became flushed and turned crimson red as he leaned forward. Kushina parted her lips around his oversized bulb. He quickly put his left hand on the back of his mom's head. His right hand stayed at the base of her semen and guiding his thrusts. He started to pump his hips and slide his member into his mother's humid mouth. Mom, your mouth is incredible. I don't think I can get any harder. The tall son grabbed Kushina's red hair roughly and continued humping away at her face. Spit began to drool out of her mouth out and fly everywhere. Last night Kushina showed him she did not have a gag reflex, which caused him to blow his load within 5 minutes. Naruto took full advantage of Kushina's outstanding gift. Kushina's angel face slammed against her son's groin over and over again. His hips sped up into a blur as the urgency to come began to grow and grow. He looked back down at her and placed both hands in her hair. Spit continued to fall down like a river onto her robe. Kushina realized herself that she will have to change before heading back upstairs. The last thing she wanted was to run into her husband with their son's milky white cum all over the front of her expensive satin robe he bought for her last Christmas. However, she quickly forgot about all of that, and the urge to completely drain her son of every ounce of semen in his muscular body consumed her. She placed her hands onto the waistband of Naruto's gym shorts for leverage. Ooh mom, he groaned as he felt his balls begin to quake. He did not want this to end, but his mother made it clear that stuff like this would be happening on a regular basis. I love you so much mom. Naruto strained to get out the words without sounding like a babbling fool. Kushina sensed this, popped her head off his and said, Sweetie bear, jerk you off in your mother's mouth. She then proceeded to open her mouth wide and stick out her long wet tongue. Kushina's body temperature was through the roof and her blood boiled with pure lust. Naruto jacked her soft for a good 10 seconds while Kushina patiently waited for him to bust. Looking down at her in this position was enough to make any man melt to mush. The light from above shined down and allowed Naruto to see all the way to the back of Kushina's wet throat. A second ago, he was pounding away at that same spot, and now he was taking aim to shoot his milky white goo. He placed his ballooning head on the tip of her tongue and began to shoot load after load into his mother's welcoming mouth. She remained perfectly still as he pumped and pumped. Kushina didn't spill a drop as she kept her head tilted back. She let the thick pasty cum gather in her mouth, while Naruto did his best not to collapse on top of her. She knew by letting her son act out his urges on her, it would help keep him focused on his studies and away from his sexual addiction. Although, it was no secret now that Kushina was also a very sexually aggressive woman. Kushina closed her mouth and swished the cum around in her mouth for a few seconds. She gargled his milky batter for a moment before closing up again and swallowing. God mom, you love to show off, don't you? Oh son, you don't know the half of it. Feeling better, she said as she got up off her knees. Much later that day, Kushina was in the kitchen fixing dinner like a good wholesome mother. She had on tight pair of grey yoga pants that was like a second skin on her toned lower body. Passing his dad in the living, Naruto walked into the kitchen and was frozen by the sight in front of him. His heart began to race as he saw his mother bending over to grab the vegetable from the bottom of the fridge. The grey material stretched over her hips and looked like her was about to rip through the back. Her knees were locked straight, legs together, and her back arched. She got up slowly, trying not to drop anything, and turned around to place the vegetables onto the counter. She turned around to get a knife when she noticed Naruto standing at the entrance of the kitchen. Mouth wide open and legs practically mush, Naruto began to get hard. If Naruto wasn't already out of his mind, he noticed she was wearing one of his father's white cotton, wife-beater, tees. The wonderful E-cup globes shook heavily up and down as Naruto's presence scared her. Any other mother would have walked over and slapped their sons if she caught him openly drooling over their body, but not this angelic specimen. Kushina was obviously different and she was out to prove that to herself and to her son. Baby, I didn't see you standing there, she giggled to herself as she immediately realized that Naruto was staring at her walking around the kitchen. Put that tongue away, mister, or prepare to use it, she flirted playfully. The thought of her giving her son raging hard-ons during the day made her nuts with excitement. Kushina was great at reacting to her son's obvious situations. She thought for a second to herself while beginning to tremble with lust. She looked down at her boner-inducing outfit and came up with a plan on the spot. She opened the fridge and got out the brand new carton of 2% milk. She closed the door, opened the top of the milk carton, walked over to the sink, and poured the contents down the drain. Naruto stood confused, but similar to a zombie, he watched her fleshy body stroll from one end of the kitchen to the other. What was she up to? Hun, Minato, can you come here? Kushina yelled, acting like this exchange with her son wasn't happening. Yes dear, Minato said, entering the kitchen. Can you run out to the store and get us some milk? I completely spaced today and forgot to get some. She asked. Babe, I was watching. Kushina cut him off and asked with pouty lips. Please see. Fine. Is there anything else you need? Naruto. Minato asked nicely. Naruto shook his head trying to compose himself. Minato grabbed his keys and walked out the door. Kushina watched Minato walk out the door and back over to her adorable son. A moment passed as the mother and son looked at each other. Naruto then took the initiative, took off his pants, and walked over to his mother. Kushina smiled lovingly as she watched her son coming at her like a runaway train. Naruto grabbed at her large, in-shape birthing hips. The tight gray pants caused the cotton material to ride up a bit on Kushina, causing a slight camel toe. Naruto continued clawing at her thighs and grabbing handfuls of fleshy mommy butt. Kissing the sides of her hips, Naruto thought to himself that he was the reason why her lower body flared out. The way it did. He forced her 5 feet 8 inches exquisite body around so that her was right in front of his face. This butt was one of the top reasons for his addiction to a woman's physique. Kushina spent almost every day at the gym but somehow still maintained the perfect amount of fat on her rump. Naruto squeezed, crawled, and licked away at her. He violently pulled down her pants down to her thighs, causing her to arch back her bubble butt into his face. Kushina reached down to adjust her pretty pink thong back into place. Kushina's looked remarkable like Theo of Francesca James, the Spanish porn star. Baby, you really like my body, don't you? She said, looking over her shoulder down on him. You have no idea how much you turn me on. I have a fetish for just about everything about you. Naruto replied feverishly. You definitely have a great way of showing me that. Kushina quickly pointed out, arching her back even further. That was good thinking, Mom. Getting rid of Dad like that. I know how important it is for you to get your releases out on regular basis. If not, Kushina yelped slightly as Naruto took a bite at her meaty backside. If not, you won't be able to concentrate on all things that can make you successful. Quote. Naruto stood up and yanked his mother's sexy pink thong down underneath her cheeks. Then without any notices, Naruto slid inside of his mother's hot steaming from behind. Due to her son's aggression, Kushina quickly grabbed onto the kitchen counter. She loved her son ravaging her body like this. Chills ran from the top of her head down to the every single one of her toes. Naruto immediately started banging the shit out of her. His right hand tightly gripped her right hip and his left hand applied pressure to the small of her back, causing her to arch her back more. Naruto looked down and saw 2 cute dimples where her amazing round butt met her lower back. The flesh of her lower body rippled due to his hard slams. Her perfect full lips parted but no noise came out but animalist grunts. About 30 seconds later, she gathered the strength to form a sentence to announce what he was doing to her. Oh my god, Pookie, I am going to come hard, she admitted as she began to breath even harder. Come for me, mommy. You're such a whore parading around in these skimpy little outfits. I wear them for you, baby. I know what it does and I feel so sexy showing myself off to you. Oh, her body exploded again. Her body shook and convulsed. Naruto's young muscular body allowed him to power on like a steam engine. The kitchen filled with sounds of skin slapping, groans, and words no mother and son should say to one another. Naruto took hiss out of his mother's wet cunt, spun her around, and removed her pants and her super thin pink thong. His hard-on shot up high with the rhythm of his heartbeat. Kushina hungrily looked at her son's athletic body as she continued to tremble from mini-orgasmic tremors. Her hair, messy and disheveled, fell over her face. Feeling completely in control, Naruto picked up her soaked pink thong panties and placed it on her head. He stretched and arranged them so the crotch portion was right over her mouth. He delicately pushed Kushina back against the door to the pantry, kicked open her legs slightly, and slid right back into her. While her cute bare feet remained planted on the floor, The thick musky smell of her were on the panties and was causing them both to drool. Naruto's mouth hung open at the sight of his mother like this. Kushina remained silent for a few minutes while she became lost in her sexual desire. She bounced up and down like a rag doll. I'm cumming so harrrrrrrdd, Kushina yelled through the crotch of her panties. She aggressively removed the pink panties off her head to kiss her strong son deeply. Seconds later, Naruto was on top of his mother on his queen-size mattress. She still had on her wife-beater t-shirt as Naruto nailed her with hard-hitting thrusts. Her chest bounced wildly as the material of the shirt tucked itself underneath her tits. Screw your mother, baby. Break your bed, she yelled at the top of her lungs. Making his mother come was all he can think about. Naruto closed his eyes and began to have mini flashbacks of vacations, Christmas mornings, and other family outings throughout the years. One specifically where it was him and his mother. Ones with her bending over in little cotton boy shorts to pick up gifts under the Christmas tree. Ones where she would be sunbathing on the beach while him and his father played catch. Fuck my cunt harder, baby. Kushina screamed as she was starting to come hard again. Her voice woke Naruto up from his temporary fog as he was still plowing away at a crazy tempo. I need to come, mom, Naruto announced, grabbing her by the throat with one hand for support. Kushina looked down at her tits rolling around in her shirt as Naruto propped himself high above her. Her eyes went wide, watching her Adonis-like son masterfully gave her pleasure she has never felt before. Never losing rhythm, he continued to slam her stow his amazing body. Her beautiful long legs spread out wide and her full red hair sprawled out around his pillow. The veins in Naruto's neck began to pop as he bottomed out in her cunt and expertly started grinding hard and fast. This caused his mother to pop hard once again. AHHHHHH. You're making me come again, she yelled and shook. After coming down slightly from the intense pleasure her son was giving her, Kushina reached down and grabbed the collar portion of the wife-beater t-shirt. With all the might left in her body, she ripped the tight t-shirt down the center, causing her big beautiful E-cups tits to be released. Look at my tits and come, honey. Give me everything. Use me to empty your nuts. Empty them inside of me. Mommy's body is yours. This caused Naruto's balls to rocket up and release its contents. While coming hard, his eyes went wide and lifted up off of her. Kushina wrapped her arms around his neck, keeping her body close to him. He instinctively grabbed his mother under her bubble butt, making sure he stayed inside her as deep as possible. Naruto lifted her into a cradle position and started to convulse. While sitting on his heels and his mother on his lap, Naruto shot rope after rope inside his loving mother. They both crashed back down onto the bed as their orgasm began to fade. The incestuous couple laid there for a few minutes. Kushina turned over and began kissing Naruto softly around his face and wiping the sweat off his forehead. I guess I am going to buy your father more wife beaters. Your father should be home very soon. Let's get cleaned up. All of a sudden Kushina popped out of bed and began to walk out. Naruto was amazed at his mother's stamina and energy. Being a full-time professional fitness instructor didn't hurt in that department. The next few days Kushina and Naruto were attached at the hip. Naruto had a baseball game after school the following Tuesday. Kushina's brand new black Ford Edge was parked at the baseball field where her son played high school varsity baseball. Naruto's team won by one run and he had a few great plays out on the field. It was 7:45 p.m. and everyone in the park had gone home after the big win. You did so great today, my baby boy, Kushina said proudly as she slammed her body up and down Naruto's large erect in the back seat of her SUV. She was wearing a loose yellow sundress that she held up around her waist. Her cute feet were planted next to Naruto's hips and her hands were locked at the fingers around the back of his neck. Her white mini V-string panties were bunched up in his right hand. Thanks, Mom. I have been really focused lately thanks to you, Naruto said through half-closed eyes, consumed by pleasure from his mother's cunt. Kushina's stacked motherly body rhythmically bounced on her son's lap, causing her body to shake as her fat meat met his lap. The pants of his baseball uniform was down between his ankles. More importantly, and how did you do in school today? Did you hand in that term paper you were working on? She asked, not missing a beat. Yep. Oh, I forgot to mention, I met up with Mrs. Bellican, she said, over the last few weeks. Quote. Naruto gulped hard and stumbled a bit due to his mother's hard steady pounding. She said that my grades are improving. I am at AB+ now. She's helping me apply for some colleges. That's great. Look at you. My Pookie is becoming such a responsible young man, Kushina said joyfully. Naruto's good news made her speed up her bouncing a bit, which caused his mouth to open. This continued for a few more minutes as the SUV rocked and swayed. Naruto's eyes became hazy as Kushina continued the conversation as if they were at the dinner table with Minato. Her beautiful thick full red hair bounced with her body. When is your next game? She asked as she caressed Naruto's cheek. Pound, pound, pound. Next Tuesday, he said, breathing hard. Slam, slam, slam. Do you have practice every day? Pound, pound, pound. Yeah, slam, slam, slam. Are you up for going with shopping at the mall this weekend? I have to pick up some things. Naruto didn't say anything and clenched her soft panties in her hand. When you get home tonight, I want you to clean your room after supper or I am not going to bake chocolate chip cookies for you like you wanted. Only good boys. Oh god mom, I am going to come. Naruto cut his mother off loudly. Oh okay baby. Kushina slammed down one last time and began to violently grind on her son's lap. She demanded loudly. The timing of her flipping switch and talking nasty helped him pop off extremely hard. Naruto released her panties out of his hand, reached around, and grabbed handfuls of his mother's bubblecheeks. He shot strong strands of jizz upwards into her as she grinded back and forth. Kushina leaned in and put her forehead on his. Naruto slammed his eyes closed as he let his aggressive mother milk him of everything he had. That's great baby. Let it all out for mommy. Shoot deep into me. She said softly into his ear as her grinding began to slow down. She looked into his eyes with a comforting smile. He started to come back around and began get his breathing under control. I am sure that is your father, wanting to know where we are. Kushina said with disappointment in her voice. Throughout the week, Naruto and his mother continued their horny escapades. They often were forced to come up with new creative ways to hide their relationship from everyone around them. This seemed to heighten the entire taboo experience. A few nights later Naruto, Minato, and Kushina were all out on the back patio for a late-night snack. Kushina was just enjoying a glass of wine after a long day of work. The glass of wine must have had its effect because she was feeling particularly horny. She looked at her son like he was a piece of meat as he laid on the cushioned outdoor furniture talking with her father. Naruto was shirtless with a long thin Nike sweatpants on while chatting with his father. Kushina's blood was boiling but she needed to control herself. Naruto, so what do you want for your birthday? It is next week you know. Kushina asked, interrupting their conversation. She craved her son's undivided attention. What more could a son want more for his birthday than his mother to fulfill every single one of his desires? The family chatted for a few minutes longer and then Naruto's father announced he was going to sleep. Kushina never broke eye contact with her son as they said the goodnights. The mother and son couple sat next to each other on the outdoor couch. Dressed in a low-cut black satin charmeuse chemise nightgown, her long beautiful legs draped over his lap. Naruto was rubbing his mom's cute sexy feet. Hi, Kushina said lovingly as she adjusted her head to rest it on the back of the couch. Hi mom, your foot rubs are the greatest baby. Mom, do you think you'll have any more kids with dad? Quote. Kushina felt it was a weird question coming from her son. I don't know. I don't think so. Your father and I always said we just wanted one kid but lately. You aren't that old. What? You're only 49 right? He said jokingly. Shut up you devil. She hit him playfully in his ribs her right foot. You would look so incredibly hot knocked up. He said rubbing her smooth calves. Don't tell me you have a pregnancy fetish. Quote. I don't so. I just think I have a fetish for you. I would love to see you have that pregnant glow. Besides, your tits would balloon. Naruto started rubbing higher up her leg. He then lifted her sexy foot to his mouth and began worshipping it. Kissing her foot on the sole, around her toes, and all around the top. That is true. Well, I am still young enough to have more babies, but then my attention would be diverted. You don't want that, do you? Naruto's MILF of a mother asked as she moved her hand on the large bulge in the front of his pants. Naruto used his hands to spread her legs wide. Yes honey, right there, she whimpered through her hands trying not to scream in ecstasy. Her whole body was shaking. Quote, how about earlier? I love that you let me bang you before one of my finals. That was so dirty. Earlier this morning, Kushina dressed in a short denim mini skirt and a tight crop top. She decided to let her son relieve some anxiety before he was to take one of the final tests of the school year. Before leaving the house, the horny minx purposely laid down the back seat of her SUV. Kushina pulled into a parking spot on school grounds and got in the back with her son. Knowing he would be tense and stressed, Kushina hiked up her skirt and allowed her son to nail her right before his 8 a.m. final exam. Naruto was so lucky to have a mother that would help him get sorted out properly before a big day. Fully clothed and on her back, she spread her legs out so that her feet were touching each sides of the SUV interior. He buried his face into her soft neck and plowed hard. Come on sweetie, have a quickie with mommy. Naruto's girthy pole moved in and out of her at lightning speed. As he reared back to shoot his stress into her, she whispered elegantly, shoot it deep young man. I want to walk around packed full of your sperm all day. Naruto yelled as he ejaculated heavy shots of cum deep into her perfect. Well baby, for starters they definitively shouldn't comment on how much they want to their mommy. Especially right to her face. She answered back with a deep sexy tone. And a son should never give his mother mind-bending orgasms. She said maintaining her eye contact. Naruto was so turned on. He stared at her beautiful facial features and listened to her dirty talk. And sons definitely should not make their mothers eat the gooey cum loads, she said as she began to lick and claw at the sensitive parts of his neck. They both were amazed and thankful that the couch was really expensive piece of outdoor set and never creaked once. This went on for another 5 minutes until Naruto finally spoke up. Mom, I have you and that is all I want for my birthday. It is all I ever want for now on. Tears welded up in her stunning eyes and began to trickle down her smooth cheeks. You have a way with words, don't you? I love you so much, she said as her hands traveled down to his hips. He reached up under her arms, grabbed the back of her shoulders and began to use them to pound harder into her. However, I think you are going to be blown away with what mommy has planned for you. Her voice shaking as her body rocked back and forth underneath him. Oh yeah, what is it? He said, half listening. You know I can't tell you that. You'll just have to wait until next week. You understand, she said as she brought up her hands to his face and leaned in for a naughty incestuous kiss. A kiss so deep that both Kushina and Naruto's faces began to become red hot with passion. Naruto drilled his mom into the furniture harder as he got ready to announce the inevitable. Curiosity made him want to finish up a bit quicker than he was anticipating. Mom, I am going to come right now, he said with a sense of urgency. His mother then pushed him off and rolled off the couch. Kushina grabbed the empty wine glass that was on the oak coffee table and presented to her son. Naruto shot up into a sitting position on his heels with his large pulsating sticking straight up in the air. He grabbed it and began stroking hard. Delirious with excitement, he took aim at the top of the wine glass. Naruto's nuts constricted and he shot 6 very large shots of cum into the glass. He jerked out smaller wads to add to the thick pool of cum collecting at the bottom. Kushina watched closely as Naruto jerked himself to completion, her mouth watering with anticipation to show her son how naughty she really can be. He slumped back down onto the couch. Naruto, honey, what do you want mommy to do with all this yummy semen? She asked innocently in her best young girl voice. Kushina proceeded to swirl the cum in the bottom of the glass. She then leaned back a bit and started to slowly pour the creamy content on her deep exposed cleavage. She moved lower to drop some more on down the front of her black satin nightgown. Naruto looked wide-eyed as she began to run the cum into her chest. She was drenched. Wow, honey, that was a lot. How do I look? She winked at him as she grabbed the glass and licked around the edge of the glass. Kushina and Naruto hugged each other's hard and they exchanged a few kisses. She playfully messed his hair up as she began to stand up. Adjusting her tits in the stained satin undergarment, she giggled to herself. She thought about how she loved how he made her feel young again. Her growing attraction to him brought thoughts and desires she had never felt before. None of her past boyfriends or even her husband had the effect on her to be such a nasty woman sexually. She looked over to her growing boy putting on his socks and her heart skipped a beat. His ripped abs shined perfectly from the patio light. Minato isn't a bad guy, but he just doesn't do it for me anymore, she thought to herself, exhaling slightly. Thanks, Mom. I have to finish up some homework before I hit the hay. Naruto leaned forward for one last kiss and headed upstairs. Kushina stayed in the backyard to clean up, her body still tingling from her latest romp with her son. Kushina had the perfect idea of what to get him for his birthday. She wondered if any of the other moms from Naruto's baseball team their sons after practice. Or if they allow their boys to their tits as motivation to be better in school. Or perhaps, if any of the older women in her spin class gave the growing sons filthy dirty handjobs while their husbands were in the shower. Or if they at least fantasized about it. The thought was so taboo that even if they did, they wouldn't admit to it. Over the course of the next few hours, Kushina seriously analyzed her relationship with her son Naruto. She just knew that there was no going back to a life that didn't involve her son. His happiness was her happiness. She wanted to reward and guide him